we now can go to Aaron Bastani, who was co-founder of the Novara Media and author of Fully Automated Luxury Communism. Aaron, thank you for joining us. Did you get the opportunity to listen to Keir Starmer's speech there, and did you like what you heard?
I don't know if I like what I heard. I mean, it's difficult to really assess what he says in terms of whether you like it or not, because, of course, he may say things which are perfectly pleasant and welcome to the ear, but you know that this time next week you won't believe them anymore. We know that, for instance, on something like HS2, he opposed it in 2015. Now he's bashing the Tories for not going far enough. The same on public services, the same on a plethora of issues. So even if he said something which I wholeheartedly agreed with, which I don't, but I sometimes do, that would have a major caveat, namely that I don't think he really believes it.
So you don't really think he's trustworthy, but one of the things he used the speech to do was really trash the legacy both of the 2017 and the 2019 election. He chose this day, the 4-year anniversary of the 2019 general election defeat, to underline how wrong Jeremy Corbyn was as Labour leader, despite him willingly, and well, I guess willingly, certainly happily serving in the shadow cabinet. Do you think that sort of trashing of Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour legacy will go down well with the membership of the Labour Party?
I don't know if that's necessarily the opposite question. When you say that Labour went wrong in 2019, I just completely refute that question.
Well, I'm not saying
right
that.
Now
it's Keir Starmer who
we have
said
Heathrow. We have Heathrow Airport being bought by the Saudi government. We have Severn Trent Water being bought by the Qataris. We have security tags on blocks of cheese in this country. And we have people struggling to pay their rent, pay their mortgage, pay their bills pretty much every week of the year. So I would refute that question, frankly. Not working for who? The political class and our economic model in this country hasn't really worked for ordinary people for a very long time. And the sad truth is that things have come to a head since 2020 for a bunch of reasons, partly COVID, partly the Ukraine war, but also just partly we have a political class incapable of solving problems. I personally think we could get 650 people from off the street and they would do a better job than your colleagues in Parliament, Jake. I hope you don't take that personally.
Some of your colleagues as well, historically. But do you think Keir Starmer has made friends in the Labour movement by praising Margaret Thatcher? Do you think that's a legacy he should be looking to sort of build on if he has the privilege of being elected as the next Prime Minister?
I think that was a really strange thing because, of course, he proceeded to rock up in Scotland, give a speech there. Praising Margaret Thatcher is going to be okay. You're in this game. That's your neck of the woods. You're a Tory MP. Praising Margaret Thatcher is going to go down quite well with Tory Labour flagging voters. But of course, in Scotland, in Wales, in Labour Lib Dem marginals, there's not many, but they do exist. That is definitely a net negative. And Labour is 20 points ahead. They're on 45% of the vote. And so there has to come a point where you say, well, look, there's a ceiling on how much of the vote you can have. What is it? Is it 50? Is it 55? And obviously, by making those comments, Starmer doesn't seem to think there is a ceiling. I would suggest there is a ceiling. Let's say 50. There are some polls that have Labour 25 points ahead of the Tories.
It rather points, if you sort of keep reaching and reaching and reaching with a build we're going to build, he will start to lose people. If he goes further and further right, as you've seen throughout his leadership, he will start to lose people off his left flank. But isn't he really helped in that? Because if you are a Jeremy Corbyn supporting left-wing Labour member of the Labour Party, or just a left-wing Labour voter who felt really enthused and emboldened by Jeremy Corbyn, if Keir Starmer goes too far for the right, who are you going to vote for? There's no one else, is there?
Well, I think people just won't vote. And I'm not saying that will happen at the next general election, but that is a plausible reality. If you look at the Tories in 2019, an extraordinary election for the Conservative Party, extraordinary in every way, an amazing campaign, fantastic, authentic leader, winning seats they just never thought they could win. And in 2024, in all likelihood, they're going to do very badly. Now, that's not because huge numbers of people are going to vote for Labour that previously voted Tory. Some will. But the reality is that actually most Conservative voters right now probably just aren't going to turn up. So that is it's not a concern for Labour because Labour aren't there. It might be a concern in 5 years' time. But this idea that people don't have anywhere to go, I think is a very dangerous one because it's precisely that logic which made the downfall of Labour in the Red Wall, not just in 2019, but over the preceding years too. 2017, actually, Labour in some seats did very poorly, did extraordinarily well in others, so it's kind of masked, but it was the same. It was the same picture. Or in Scotland in 2015, where they collapsed. There is a clear story in this country of both parties, time after time, taking their quote-unquote core vote for granted, and then 5-10 years later, they find themselves in a massive pickle, and they say, what do we do? We're not going to be in power again for a very long time. The Tories are doing something quite similar right now, aren't they? You know, they've taken small business, homeowners for granted. If you walk down a high street, you talk to small businesses, you say, you know, how are things going? They'll say, terribly. What would you like to see? I don't know, maybe a cut to VAT, cheaper energy bills. Nobody in the political class is talking about that. How can we help small businesses? They're talking about little Mickey Mouse things like national insurance contributions.
Well, I don't think a tax cut for every working person in this country is quite Mickey Mouse, not least because it's so
well, for a small business
Aaron,
it is. For a
thank
small
you
business,
so
it is. Of course
much
it is.
for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to